we could call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Barr.
Here.
Giovanini.
Here.
Eckhoff.
Here.
Callis.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Hauser.
Here.
Bradshaw. Cranford.
Here.
Howard. Oh, I'm sorry. She was here. Willie.
Here. Thank you. First meeting of the month is also an obligation to have a meeting of the Civic Center Authority. With no business before the Civic Center Authority, we'll adjourn that meeting and move into our regular council meeting. If we've had time to look over the consent agenda, there's 5 items there to look at.
I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Mike, seconded by Kelly. Consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Barr.
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Cranford.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you. On to the regular agenda. Item 1 is establishing a public hearing date and location for possibility of the TIF 4 development plan.
Yes, the
Jim?
next step in the TIF process of designating that location would be to pass a resolution establishing a time and a place for a public hearing. The resolution before you sets that public hearing for December 2nd, 2024 at 6:45 PM here at the City Council chambers prior to that council meeting. And then that gives the public an opportunity for their input on the plan.
Any thoughts on that?
I'll motion acceptance of that resolution.
I'd second.
Okay. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Giovanini.
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Cranford.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
So question, the plan that you sent out to us, will that be the one that goes on public?
Yeah, unless there should be any changes to it. Yes,
Okay.
that's the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
And so how will the public be notified that it's open for review? If
So
anybody
we
wants to
put-
look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have posted it on our
Web.
website.
Okay.
And there'll be for the public hearing, there'll be a required notice that will have to go out to the paper, and then that as well will go on our website.
Okay.
And then our other social accounts as well.
Item 2 is a continuation. This is authorization to adopt the rules of the registry for the TIF district.
Yes, and this is one that when our original TIFs began wasn't a requirement, but now when you establish a new TIF, there's a requirement for the corporate authorities to establish an interested parties registry. In essence, what this is for citizens, for developers, for anyone who is interested in town and out of town. If you're from out of town, you have to have an interest here in town. So like I could be a developer who builds in Pontiac, then I can be an interested party. So this registry basically is a list that whenever there are notices and whenever there are changes to the TIF plan, they will be notified as well. So any local citizens, any local taxpayers, and any interested parties who are commercial, who have business in Pontiac, all they need to do is, the rules are attached with it. In essence, we get their information, what they are, whether they're a taxpayer or a resident, or whether they're an organization, and then they just provide us with proof that they're either a resident or a taxpayer, or that they have business here in the city, and then they go on a list. Basically, it's a distribution list that we're required to do by statute.
So we don't solicit their interest, they let us know their
Correct.
Right.
interest.
Yep.
And that, we didn't have that before with our
No,
Right.
it started in 1999. Anything after 1999.
Times do change.
Oh, yeah.
We wouldn't have gotten the last one done if we had had to go through that process, probably. We had a lot on our plate.
I'll motion acceptance of ordinance 2024-0029.
I'll second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Mike Barr. Roll call, please.
Eckhoff?
Yes.
Callis?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Hauser?
Yes.
Cranford?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Jovenini?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Chris on generating some power.
Thank you, Mayor. At the first meeting in September, we sought approval to go out for bids to put RFP out for a standby generator for the rec center to be used as a warming center or a cooling center if needed, a general emergency center in the event of natural disasters. We had two parties that submitted a bid, both from town, Kelly Electric and Durham Electric. Durham Electric, actually, there's a typo here, had actually submitted a bid with the Caterpillar generator, and Kelly Electric had submitted the bid with the Cummins. We had originally intended to get a natural gas generator for the building, but as we got into working with these contractors, we didn't feel there was enough gas supply to maintain the building, let alone operate the generator. So we put an addendum out to just to bid a diesel generator with a 24-hour fuel supply. And the bids were as follows. Durham Electric, again with the Caterpillar generator, was $101,466, and Kelly Electric with the Cummins generator was $106,960. Both met the requirement of the RFP. The Caterpillar does have a longer warranty and is also equipped standard with level 2 sound dampening. So it will help keep the noise of the generator down during operation. Given that, we would recommend awarding the contract to Durham Electric in the amount of $101,466. And I'll answer any questions.
Is that just a 2-year warranty then with that one?
Well, the Caterpillar comes with a 5-year. It was a typo, Bill.
Okay.
Just flip-flop top to bottom.
Okay.
5-year and the dampening equipment too, right?
But yeah, it comes standard with it, where it was a $4,000 option with the Cummins.
But the prices are correct
Yes.
next to the,
Yep.
If someone that's built right here in Pontiac, that's a great idea.
Do we have any other city buildings that have generators? Does the fire station and the,
It has a partial, like it will run their operations center and then the front, the old dispatch room of the police department. So it's not a total building
right?
generator. Other than that, that's it.
And there are funds available for this project, so.
Yeah, so we allocated the ARPA funds of $86,000 toward the project, and the remainder would be an eligible TIF project.
So you need a motion for that?
Yep.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Scott for approval to buy the generator. Roll call, please.
Callis?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Jovenini,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, we're participation in the Illinois Debt Recovery Program.
So the Illinois Debt Recovery Program is a program that we came across while we were doing some work with our online payment vendor for sewer. Basically, what this program is you would sign up with the Illinois State Comptroller, and for individuals that have unrecovered debt for utility payment, or it could be something else, but we would foresee it here locally mainly as utility billing debt. And in essence, what happens is we would take the regular steps that we normally take to collect the debt, and if that's not possible, or if it doesn't work, and eventual water shutoffs, then we can send the debt to the comptroller's office, and then the information is uploaded into the state's, what they call iDrop, which is a debt recovery offset portal, which then means that anytime that individual should get a check from the state, whether it's income tax refund or lottery winning or something else from the state, our debt would be recovered prior to the remittance to the individual. The only caveat and for us, we get to determine what the parameters are for the debt that we send to the comptroller's office. And for example, if we feel placing a lien on a property is a better option, then that would exclude it from being part of the debt recovery program. It can't have a lien for the same debt and be in the debt recovery program. But it can be useful for those debts where people incur and then just move place to place and never pay back their debt.
It's a free service, but
It is, oh yeah, it is a free service, yep, and there is no cost to us, and basically what happens is once we send in a debt and they verify it, we'll send in our evidence of the debt with the program. They will then notify the individual, and if there should be an offset, basically a check from the state to them, they have a time period, 60 days to initiate an appeal, at which time there could eventually be like we do with towing and administrative type hearing, where we present our evidence and our notices of what we sent in, and then the state ultimately has that final decision.
So who would be the person in our staff that would be, so mainly Teresa?
Yes.
Sewer? I mean, because that would be mostly the one that would, we really wouldn't have
Actually-
anything else.
that sounds really good as the person that tries to collect that stuff. We try to get income tax orders over the court all the time. They have to use their income tax refund. And people move, and we get landlords and tenants, and the tenant incurs the bill. We go after the landlord for it, but the tenant incurs the bill. There's pretty good chance at some point in time they might have a state payment. So that will help collect the people that don't have ownership. We don't file liens on those.
Right.
Typically. So, no, this is a really potentially very useful tool for the toolbox.
And we get to decide who gets
Submitted?
no,
Correct, yeah, that's all the
I
city.
do think in that regard,
We need to set a time.
whatever plan you come up with, you need to be consistent. You can't pick and
Framework.
choose. I'm not turning him in because I know him.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it's gotta be if he owes a sewer bill,
I mean-
hasn't paid it after a certain amount of time, or we've exhausted thing, it gets turned in, period.
I thought maybe like it goes to a certain debt amount, it's time to, and so many contacts, and then, yeah.
Yeah, so our regular procedures would still apply, like, we send them a bill, we send them a second notice, and then we send a third notice, prior to shutting off water. So as long as we're following those procedures, and then we will develop a protocol for whether it's a debt limit. I don't necessarily know if you want to attach a debt limit to it, rather than us going through the procedures that we already would if we were going to shut somebody's water off.
Because you're already at that point anyway.
Because you're already
You
at
go
that
through
point,
those
right,
procedures, so, yeah.
yes.
I get it.
So if they're clearly in debt, there's just no question that they're in debt
Right.
at
Right.
this
We have a
point.
lot that they're clearly, for sure.
We do.
So if it lands in the state's hands and they do this process, and they have an issue with the debt, who do they complain to, the city or the state?
Well, they would, you mean the resident?
Yeah.
They should come to us. And so, for example, even if we turn in a debt to the comptroller's office, to the local debt recovery program, and they come in and they pay, then we have that removed from the program. So we can control that as well, to where if they end up on that registry, on that offset, then we can remove them from it as well.
This would help recover people that actually move.
Yeah, it would help the movement and people budgeting, a lot of times people get tax refunds, although remember you're talking about Illinois tax refund, not a federal where you got a lot of earned income tax credits and stuff that generate large refunds. Illinois refunds tend to be small, but it's better than nothing.
Right.
So what do you need a motion that we should enroll in this?
Yes, so I'm just
Yes.
looking for authorization to
Okay.
enroll. Yeah.
I have a motion that we,
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Bill Callis. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, we have an ordinance on the grant of easement to ComEd for the airport solar farm 2A.
Yep, so 2A is the 33.9 triangular acreage that's north of I-55. It's actually part of a larger squared parcel divided in half by the interstate. That is the one that we've have a lease with ESP Pontiac LLC to build a solar farm, a community solar farm on that property. And then part of that process is the interconnect to the grid for ComEd. And they'll need an easement, and that, if you look on the back page, that easement, the last page of the easement, has the diagram. It's on the, west end of that property. Will be an easement going in for the power lines to connect from the solar farm out to the grid.
This is to benefit our solar farm.
Right.
Yeah, this is the one
us
that's gonna generate, roughly $60,000 a year.
Right.
They're hooking us up.
And we've had to do this for the other 1A and
Right.
1B too, it's
Yeah.
a standard thing.
Yep. And again, that money, just so everyone recalls, if it's generated on airport land, it stays at the airport
Right.
for development there.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay,
I will second.
second, okay. Motion by Mike Barr, seconded by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Hauser,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Special Housing Study Committee report. Scott, you want to speak on that?
Yeah, so I thought we had a good night with Amy. It was good to meet her. I thought there was a lot of good questions. Already got the survey from her. Kelly's got it. I think she's responded. We're gonna sit down and look at that, and we should get that to get going. I think we're at the point from that meeting where we're probably gonna have to start getting the volunteers set up to do some of that. So otherwise, I think it went really well. Any questions or thoughts? I think it's gonna be a very useful tool, and I know we wanna maybe go to Paris, Illinois, and go take a look, as she suggested. That kinda came up.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Illinois.
Yeah, flying to France.
Because I was dusting off my money.
The Tour de France is coming
Yes,
again.
yes.
Okay. Did you have a date in mind to get the committee back to, and the volunteers and?
Well, I thought, did we set a date on that for November already?
Yes.
I think we tried to. I was just gonna reinforce.
Thought it November 9th,
Yeah,
or the Wednesday after election,
Yes.
yeah.
6th. Let me double check that. Yeah, item meeting,
6th.
6.
November 6th.
November 6th.
Jim, is that something we can come in and we can get it posted on the website to invite people who would like to maybe volunteer and be part of that?
Yep,
They can,
we'll get to work on that.
Yeah.
What time is that meeting on the 6th?
5:30,
Okay.
and they're more than welcome to contact me if they have questions, you can.
Yeah.
And I think, the next day I had, what I thought was very interesting is the same like project that we're working on here downtown with Even Glow. The county is doing something similar out at the towers. And they were pretty excited about what we're doing here because they've got the same questions coming up at a meeting. So, Adam must have talked to, Bill Mays got a hold of me, Marty Fan, a couple people wanted to sit down and just kind of talk about it, and they're interested in volunteering and helping. So it looks like we're getting some real buy-in from above.
Well, we want to incorporate the county as much as possible.
Yeah, and
Keep Lori Lee and the entire
Yes.
group and
and they said that, I think they were telling me that Lori Lee, somebody has already done something like this survey, that they have information. They said so it might help us speed up the process.
well, that's part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Join forces.
Experience does help sometimes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But, and because the Housing Authority has close partnership with IDA already,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so they're gonna be a real benefit there.
Okay.
And those volunteers, just so we publicly state that what we're looking for, they thought 15 or so volunteers, and what they would be doing is walking the blocks and documenting some information, like they would provide an app or some device that will use GIS, and then also include, which could make this thing useful for other things like you're talking about, conditions of like a house from the street, the yard, the sidewalks, and the streets in that area, so we can have some data around all of our properties,
Okay.
parcels.
So, November 6th, 5:30, keep that on your calendar. All right, moving on, report on the Illinois Municipal League Conference. I believe Mike, Kelly, Jerry, and Barb went. Spokesperson?
Who wants to, you want me to go?
You can go, I'll go next.
I'm gonna kind of give a recap of some of the notes I took, which was lots, but I highlighted some points of interest. First of all, I think it was a really, really great conference. Barb, I think we would all agree, we split up and didn't necessarily all go to the same sessions. I mean, there was a couple things where we were maybe all in, but we each kind of focused on what interested us in the 2 days that we were there. And I went to 2 sessions. On Thursday's sessions were primarily focused on TIF districts, which you think you know something about TIFs, but until you go sit through these things, I really learned a lot more that I didn't know. And as we all know, the general public really has a whole lot of questions about TIF. But we had a presentation in one of the sessions by the city administrator from Marion, Illinois, which right now is kind of a poster child for TIF in Illinois. They are a population of 17,000 people, and they've had TIFs going in their community since 1987, and they currently have 15 TIF districts. Almost their entire community is encompassed in one way or the other. And something that really intrigued me was they have 2 solely residential districts. It's all to provide assistance to homeowners to make improvements to their homes. And they have a strict set of rules, and I won't get into all those details, but you know, it might be a tool that we could use moving forward once we do this housing study. They fully interrupted a cycle of decline in their community by using TIF at this broad spectrum, and have nearly eliminated property tax levy to the residents of Marion for the city of Marion, because they have increased their sales tax so much from all of what has happened in these TIFs. And so most residents that own homes in Marion pay less than $100 on their segment of taxes to Marion, which is pretty interesting. I know it's probably, it's a pipe dream to be able to get to that. But they've really, I mean, it's just incredible. They actually did a case study session, which I wasn't able to go to, but it's online. If anybody wants to watch that, that's on the IML website. Then moving on into the next day, or the next session, they strongly suggest that we have our citizens communication people really tell the story to the public about TIF and all the collaborative efforts and improvements that we've made because we have TIF in our district. One community has signs in any window in a business downtown that has used TIF funds so that the community knows that a facade grant was brought to you by the City of Pontiac TIF District, for instance. We need to get the good word out about successful TIFs because success creates new opportunities in that. On to another session. The IML Civility Pledge, which is on the back of our magazine that we just have in our packet today. Every city that belongs to the IML is encouraged to adopt this pledge in our community at a council meeting and put it into play. That was one thing that we learned. A lot about workforce housing. Then Barb and I also went to a session put on by Peatone, and they are currently in the midst of a downtown streetscape project. Kind of similar to what we're proposing for Madison Street and maybe other areas beyond, but they have shut down 4 blocks in their downtown for 9 months to do a full-on streetscape. And so the session talked all about the process and how they have involved really all the stakeholders in the area in the project, and the recommendations by the individuals there. Their mayor gave the program, and then they actually hired a PR firm to help with the process. A smaller community than us, so they didn't have as many staff people, but they strongly encouraged, and since we're going to be doing this at some point soon, hopefully, to start the communication PR before the narrative begins out in the public, to break the negativity. Build your communications infrastructure first, using all channels of all means of things. They had teams of people that visited every single business to explain what was going on. And then they had an open house, not a public meeting. And so it invited people, which, I mean, we've kind of done that, but invited people to come in and really talk with all of the individuals in the city staff. And at that open house, they got all the residents that came to sign up for all their newsletters, text things, everything that they had in communication methods. They pretty much met them at the door and said, you need to sign up for all this stuff so that you know what's going on. They didn't allow for public comment at the open house because they wanted to just have stations giving information. And it really stopped the fear of the unknown for everybody, because the streets aren't even accessible while they're doing this. I mean, everybody's having to park at other locations, and but it was, they've really been successful at it. Then I went to a session on the Bureau of Local Funds. It was put on by IDOT, talking about a lot of different programs that we can use for funding for streets and sidewalks and things. And a few things that I didn't really know about. I'm sure Brian knows all of these things, but in the past we have employed the Safe Routes to Schools. I remember doing that, but that program is up next year for a new cycle, and it's 100% funding for sidewalks in areas that are coming. So, you know, perhaps we should identify some more areas, and I know that's putting work on somebody's plate, but it's essentially free sidewalks, curb ramps, that kind of thing. The TARP program I had never heard about, and it's a truck access route program. If we have any truck access roads in our community, which I believe Mill Street South is a truck route, And it's a completely separate grant program. And Mill Street, we all know, is really bad, so perhaps that's something that we might be able to take advantage of. Lots of other good stuff in that IDOT thing. But it was really, I found it to be extremely beneficial. I hope that some of the stuff that we learned, we end up putting into play at some point. And I took up a lot of time. I apologize to you guys.
I just wanted to add, on the advertising part where they put the stickers in the windows of the businesses that were affected by TIF, they also said that there should be like a board that has all the people, all the entities that said, yes, we're on board with this, like the school district and the places that people have questions about, are we taking money from them? No, they're on board with it. And that should have been part of the advertising too.
And that brings one point, a question I wrote down that we talked about in here, and I was not familiar with this, is who is our joint review board for our TIF district? Because I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yep. The joint review board is the city, it's the school districts, Heartland Community College, and the township.
Okay, so it's all those
Taxing
entities
bodies.
that, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Mike?
So she hit everything I wanted to say? No.
You went to different things than
Well, like Jerry and Barb and Kelly, I intentionally focused on different sessions as well. And of course, I was focusing on those that we were talking a lot about here in the city, TIF, grant funding, budgeting, things like that. So many of those conferences, I went to the same one, but I don't think we overlapped too many. Yeah. So there were quite a few throughout the day. And, you know, the daytime and the evening, you get to meet a lot of other elected officials from all over the state. So made some contacts there, and you're able to share some of the thoughts that we had, and they were able to give us back some ideas as well. I also spent a lot of time on the expo center, because there was 150 exhibitors there, and many of them had tools and things that lent themselves to some of the things we're doing. Like, for example, the Centennial Plaza. There were some unique solar lighting ideas. Traffic control. There was a company with a unique portable device that you could move from town to town. It was like under $3,000. So it wasn't like that wagon that we were looking at the last time. And then there were some really interesting concepts with companies. One I really liked was called GoGov. It's a unique citywide communication tool. All those people that I've mentioned, all those companies I mentioned, I showed great interest in them. I gave them my card. I gave them the mayor's address, city administrator's address, and the appropriate department head's address. Several of them have since sent me emails, of which I then forwarded to you guys. I'd really like you to take a look at that GoGov. So I sicked them on you.
That's why I'm highlighting Chief Davis.
If they're good salespeople, they'll knock on your door.
Yeah.
If not, you know. So anyway, I would echo everything that Kelly said. This is a really good opportunity for us as city representatives to meet other like people and come away with some really good ideas. And I think that we should encourage annually at least that one event for the group. So
Everyone had, I mean, every different city person that we met, representative that we met had so many different angles and ideas, and and all had sort of the same thoughts that we all have, looking for new ways to make things better.
The keynote speaker was, if half the people in the room weren't crying over him, it was an incredible speaker.
When you feel like you almost have to get up and leave the room because you're going to lose it, that's how bad it was. He was really good.
Okay. Well, you can't leave tonight, so, until we adjourn the meeting.
Not gonna learn.
But thank you. And Mike sent out a listing of several things, and looks like Kelly's got a good list going too.
Yeah,
I got a bunch of
I got a
emails
lot of
to
notes.
send, I haven't sent. I was gonna check with him before I sent them out.
We will be having a couple follow-up meetings, so we'll bring this up again and see if we can put a manageable list together that we can put our entire body into, so. Well, thank you very much, and I was afraid that you'd get up there and start partying hardy and forget to go to the conferences, but it wasn't the case. You worked it really well.
No.
We need to move along, because speaking of Chief Davis, he has a little presentation to us on motorized bicycles that we need to talk about.
Good evening, council. As you guys are probably aware, we're seeing more and more of the motorized bicycles in town. The rules from when they first came out, 3 to 5 years ago, have been tweaked a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to maybe bring the issue up, not that we have a huge problem with it, but just so we all have the same answer when people call with questions as far as what's allowed and where, what's legal with these. Basically, the motorized bikes are broken into 2 different categories. The electric ones, it's a rechargeable battery. It looks almost like where a water bottle would be on the frame. Long story short, it's the same rules of the road for these motorized bicycles as they are your old-fashioned pedal bicycles. There's 3 classes of the electric ones. Basically, it deals with maximum speeds. Class 1 and 2 can be operated strictly an electric bike by people under the age of 16, whereas a Class 3 electric bike, it's kind of a souped-up version. The previous 2, they have a max speed of 20 miles an hour, but the Class 3, the souped-up one, has a max of 28 miles per hour. You have to be 16, but you do not have to have a driver's license for those. Any of these can be operated on any highway, street, in town, anywhere that a bicycle can be operated on. These are legal. A lot of the calls that I've had were, why does the city allow this? It's not, it has nothing to do with the city ordinance. It's a state statute that where everything falls basically in line with the rules of the road for bicycles. One thing that could be city specific is that they are allowed on bicycle paths. However, they provide the opportunity for a municipality to prohibit them from being on designated bike paths, if that's of interest. They cannot be on any sidewalks in town. And then our other are the low-speed gas bicycles. These are the ones you probably had more calls on than the other ones. They're allowed. An operator of these has to be 16 years of age. Same rules, though. You do not need a valid driver's license. The trick bag of the gas motorized bicycles is that by law you can't travel more than 20 miles an hour, but that doesn't mean there's any way to regulate if one of those bikes can physically travel more than 20 miles an hour. Like the other ones, they can't be on the sidewalk. And again, all of the rules of the road for the electric ones apply to the gas ones. To be honest, most of the ones that we see in town are legal to be operated on the road. An additional note, due to them being considered bicycles, again, no requirement to have a driver's license. However, you can receive, you could be arrested for a DUI on one. We've done that on one of the souped-up Class 3 ones that was going very fast through town. We've had a few crashes. I was looking for stats. However, traffic stops and crashes, they don't break down to, car, truck, motorcycle, motorized bicycle. So I would just have an anecdotal of, I can't think of but 3 or 4 crashes we've had on these, only one being fairly serious. The 20-mile-an-hour rule is probably the most, that or rolling through stop signs would be the biggest complaints that you and we both see on with these bicycles. Real quick, I want to hit on scooters. We have a few around, and I'm betting we will start to see a lot more of those. There's no state statute in effect right now. However, there's a bill in the House for the stand-on electric scooters. It's not no there's no pedals involved, but legislation for that would be, again, in talks. However, it is, you have to be 16 years or older to operate one of these, and you don't need a driver's license. But again, it would be allowed on the road, on any roads that a bicycle would be allowed. So aside from interstates, pretty much anywhere in town falls into that. So I know that you guys see, and I see when I'm driving around, not at work, I mean, people on bicycles aren't as careful a lot of times, but, you know, they do have the same rules of the road requirements as vehicles and people on pedal bicycles. Oh, what kind of questions?
The only thing I see, you know that I'm a road cyclist. And
I
I
do.
spend a lot of time running through this city, and I try to act like an automobile. I try to spend, stop at the stop signs, not completely, but stop at the stop signs, because the Illinois state statute does allow me to have a static stop where I come to a stop, no cars, and go through. The only complaint I have about other cyclists in town is particularly the ones who are running their electric and gas vehicles, is they're really not paying attention to the rule of the road and riding on the correct side of the street. They'll be coming on the wrong side into oncoming traffic. And if you see somebody like that, you need to tell them that they need to turn around and run the road the right way. Because that's, for an automobile, for a driver, most of the accidents that happen like that are those kinds of cyclists, because you don't know what to do with them. The rules say I get 3 feet to my side. A lot of drivers don't give me that, but many drivers around here will take another lane, and they really should take the other lane if they're going to go around you. But if you have a cyclist coming at you in your lane, it's confusing to a driver, and that's why that should get them some kind of a warning. So just.
I agree.
Yeah, Chief, what are the lighting reflector requirements? Because we have more trouble on Deerfield Road, you can't see them because they have no lights, no reflective clothing. Their little reflector, barely see it before you almost hit them.
Again, same as bicycle, anytime at night, that's a loose definition of nighttime, but you do have to have a lamp that projects forward and a reflector on the back.
Are they supposed to signal? Like if they turn or stop, are they supposed to do
Yes.
the arm
To
thing
the,
and all
to
that?
the tune of the law, yes. We're
How
supposed to
many
use the
times you
arms
see
and-
that?
Follow me. You'll see.
I know, follow me will too.
We are addressing it, like I say, the 20 mile an hour, the speeding ones, on the real loud, souped up fast ones, that's, easier seen and able to address quickly. I see the rolled stop signs a lot, so
It
we
would-
do try and educate as much as possible.
It would be nice if they really did stay out of the lane of traffic and really tried to stay closer to the curbing, because you never know what they're gonna do. You never know what direction they're gonna take, if they're gonna stop at a stop sign. It just seems
The
like
trouble with that,
they just.
you say stay close to the curb.
I mean,
A cyclist can ride on the side of the road and and ride in his own safety. So what you don't see as you're driving that car is the potholes,
Sure.
the garbage on the road after a rainstorm, after any rain, all the
I
stuff
see all
that was
that.
on the street all goes to the side. So I'm not gonna ride in that. So
No.
I can come out as far as I want. I can have that whole lane, I really can. And if you wanna go around me, you need to give me 3 feet minimum.
I'm talking about in town.
Yeah,
Where,
even here, yeah.
you know what I mean?
It's the same rules.
I ride my bike around town all day long too, Mike, and I know what you mean. but-
Jerry, where there's no curb, you got.
Right, I
rough
understand
edge
that, I
gravel.
understand that, but when
It's
you're
pretty tough.
like in the most congested area, it
I think it's
seems like they're
similar-
paying no attention to anything that's going on, the motorized ones I'm talking about. A regular
Similar to where
bicycle,
when you
I've
see
never
the
seen
golf
problems
carts
with.
on a wider road, clear over to the side, and you think you might be able to get around, but I would rather they just be in the lane, so you know that there's not gonna be any last minute veer into you.
Well, thanks, Dan, for
Yeah.
the,
You're quite welcome.
I actually asked him to do this because so many people are chattering about these
We-
things, and,
They're not going away anytime
Yeah.
soon. We'll see more.
and I see them, I mean, we see them all every day out in our neighborhood.
On my corner, you hear
Our
the brakes
roads.
screeching
Yeah.
like 2 or 3, 4 times a day on our corner, at the pizza
I mean,
place.
racing down
because they just
116
blow
anymore.
right through the stop signs.
From a statistic standpoint, have we issued any tickets to bicyclists?
Yes. Do I have a number? No.
Yeah.
But we have over the years.
Okay. Well, I'm interested in.
Bicyclists, that's, you lean very heavily on education unless
right.
it's a blatant.
Which is much better than writing tickets.
I just rather be safe.
The being on sidewalks, I see that quite a bit.
Yeah, they should.
And I've instructed several people that they're not allowed on sidewalks. And I usually get some smart remark. And, you know, and it usually galls me a little bit, but, you know, I sometimes think that, you know, a good ticket or you know, the threat of seeing the police is always a deterrent to some. But down at Hummiston Riverside Park, at 2 of the events, there was some young fellow that decided he could ride his motorized bike around on the paths down there at a high rate of speed, I thought. And I was waiting for him to run into one of the barricades or something. He eluded them all, but, you know, certainly was disturbing, if nothing else. So, you know.
It's historically been a big problem downtown, the doors swing and people there, and I recall somebody going by the alley by Freestar on the long side, took a car out one time, the car took him out or something, don't think he got killed, but, I mean, the bottom line is, I saw people just last week, a couple of them riding on downtown, and we always watched that pretty close, the downtown side.
So, I guess the main thing is an opportunity of somebody getting their name in the paper for improper use of their bicycle would not hurt to dissuade others.
Or
Some
maybe
of them
just
are
an
young, real
annual,
bicycles.
maybe
right?
just an annual bike seminar for.
This,
and then-
this
and
wouldn't be
then-
bad for an FAQ section on social media in the
Yeah.
spring when everybody gets woken
Yeah.
back up in the winter
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
I've seen those from other communities.
Well-
Underage kids with no licenses, put him in got a real bicyclist on the sidewalk downtown, 13 years old, you're really
Yeah,
limited, and he ends up in my lap.
Yeah.
And he has to go work for Jim Melvin.
there you go. Chief, really appreciate your coming up and enlightening us again. All right, thank you. Moving on, we do have need for executive session after we get done here, but under mayor's comments, I was going to ask if anybody's planning to go to Paris, Illinois. It sounds like it would be a worthwhile trip if we can get a group together to make that adventure. The other things that are coming up is that we have what you would call a really busy schedule, as almost every town does, for October, November, December. I checked with Misty to see how the Christmas tree program was going, and she's about halfway there on that. That was pretty good. That usually wouldn't really get a big bang going until the end of the month. Other than that, I really don't have anything else to jump onto. So, city council comments.
Can I ask you, I'm sorry, John, did I interrupt you?
Go ahead.
Have anyone noticed the gentleman at the band shell? Is that being taken care of?
I haven't seen somebody at the band shell.
I think there's been a gentleman living there.
Yeah.
Talked to him a week and a half to 2 weeks.
Okay.
He wasn't there Friday, so none of his stuff was there.
Trying to remember what day it was. I seen him talking to some teenage boys.
There's been a couple down there.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
guy
that's under the
one
last
under
street
tree
bridge,
and one
too.
in the van shell.
Okay. John?
Will the condition of the parking lot at the time of the public hearing deter people from coming in? Because I understand it's supposed to be torn up by that time.
So I'm told that when the parking lot project happens, we will be able to maintain the building open and the whole thing won't be under construction at one time. So there should be access.
I just want to make a quick comment about Mike and I and Jim and Misty and Greg and a couple other downtown, Anna Horner and Ashley Westbrook, went to Illinois Main Street, put on a program last week called Upstairs Downtown. Really great program. It was all about renovating your upstairs in your downtown buildings into apartments and reclaiming vitality to the area of your downtown, and essentially helping to make that a very vital neighborhood in your community. Really interesting, really good stuff. I took like 25 pages of notes, I think. Greg got a lot out of it with requirements for sprinkler a lot of workarounds to some of the zoning issues. I hope we can really get back with his department and do some things with that to make some stuff happen downtown. It really plays into our housing project as well. So
Yeah, the two gentlemen that put this on, one gave us a lot of unique workaround ideas just all through his whole presentation, and then the other fellow, Mike, his name was, he gave us some actual circumstances where the actual, what do you call it?
examples of
of
other communities.
right. It was really, really well done. And I mean, one of the coolest idea was with our cityscape. One of the issues of having sprinkler systems is if somebody needs to put a sprinkler system in, they have to dig up the street, put a whole larger water pipe in there. Well, you're doing a cityscape, the city does that, has that built into it already. So that way, when we finally get to doing all of the upstairs changes for our, residences, that's part of that's already in place. Just some neat ideas.
I have to work with the water company on that because we don't
Yeah.
have a water
Right.
company.
No, I know, yeah.
And if you put a sprinkler system in now, you have to have a separate water line, so there's no back flushing.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know if there's a way to mitigate that expense or not.
Yeah, there were some really great workarounds. I think we've got some opportunities with some of our buildings.
You
to
control your own
avoid
ordinances,
them.
but you may not control other public safety.
Yeah.
Real good. City administrator.
Couple. You should have a copy of this map of the amazing race. This is a great race, I should say. GreatRace.com is the website for it, but they will be making a stop. As you can see, it's a little over 2,000-mile race. It's a very unique thing, but they're going to be making a lunch stop in Pontiac, and that will be next year, June 23rd. And then they'll leave Pontiac. They'll be here a couple hours. The way this race works, they come in at different times. So about the span of 3 hours, they'll be through town and eating lunch. And so we've met with them, and they'll be in the downtown Mill Street area. So Misty and Liz and Hannah will be working with some of our businesses, sponsoring that event, and it's going to be a really very cool thing. There's a lot of old vintage cars, and if you go in there, it'll make your head spin on the rules. Because it's a legitimate race with a $50,000 payout. But then there's also people that just do it because they love to do it, and it's a fun thing for them. But you can get docked time and points for speeding, getting a ticket, showing up too soon, going too fast in the town zone. And so it is pretty cool to check out.
Yeah.
The next, what didn't happen on this agenda that was supposed to have happened was Alan and I had been working on a draft annexation agreement for Redwood. Redwood has approached us with a desire to connect to the city sewer, And tonight, Mr. Ron Steed, who is with Redwood, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to give him a little time to just kind of go over his idea. And then what really has to happen is we would need a public hearing. And I can, after we're done tonight, we can set up a date for that public hearing as well. But we'll have to come back with the annexation agreement.
So my name is Ron Steed. I am representing Redwood. I work for a company called Endeavor Communities. We purchased and operate the community. We started February the 1st of this year. And upon taking over this community, we realized that we had a heavy lift to engage in. I.e., our first order of business after the annexation will be to increase and to install new sewer system within the community. And that's where we needed the connection for the city, because we're installing individual tanks with individual pumps, and these pumps will pump out into the system. The really good part, and I discussed this with the wastewater treatment folks here in town, is that we will be sending you no solids. Everything we send will be liquids. We keep all solids contained within our tanks. So there's no solids coming to the wastewater treatment plant, it's all liquid. So it's very easy for them to process. In fact, it will help them process all of the waste that they produce on a daily basis anyway. And then we're gonna put in a new water delivery system, new drainage in the community, and then eventually, hopefully within a year and a half, we'll look at new roads within the community. Starting tomorrow, we're putting new lighting in, so it will no longer be a dark, dingy place at night. We want our residents to feel safe and secure, and we want them to be proud to call that place our home. We want to be proud of what we have. So at Endeavor, we're making very large steps to make sure that when we annex into the city, it's not something that's going to be a burden to the police department, to the city, to anybody, to any of the departments. So my thing here is tonight is to answer any questions that you may have regarding the community, our process. Alan and Jim have been great. We've been working on this for a couple of months now, and we're progressing nicely as far as we can tell. Our timeline at this point, we would like to start construction December, January, but that all depends on the annexation. That also all depends on ComEd after our meeting today. So, but we're still targeting mid-December through mid-January as a start time to start putting it's called the Orenco system. If anybody has any questions about this, please contact me. Jim has my contact information, and I can provide any information on the Orenco system. It is established in the state of Illinois. It has been used multiple times. We're using bona fide contractors that are trained and licensed electricians, licensed plumber, the whole 9 yards. We're not here to skip out. We're going to do this the correct way. So, any questions? That's what I'm here for tonight.
So I have one crazy one. Where is Redwood?
Where is Redwood? It's off Old 66 up here on the north side of town. It's Redwood Mobile Home Community.
Okay, there, okay.
There, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Redwood Mobile Home Community. Approximately 140 sites, and we intend on making this a very nice Class 5. In our business, a Class 5 is a top tier community that you can have. And within 3 years, we'd like to see that a top tier community.
There's a couple other trailer parks that could be up for sale too.
I was just gonna say, Jim.
One at a time.
Into Water Street?
One at a time. Like I said, this is a heavy lift for us, and we didn't realize it was that heavy until we got into it. So, but here we are. You know, we're gonna do the annexation. We're all in. And
Well, Mr. Steed will be back at our next meeting, and it'll be on the agenda for more discussion and more questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, the process for the annexation agreement, we have to have a public hearing on
Right.
that. And it's got zoning aspects because we have to zone them when they annex, and I think it requires a special use permit. So the annexation agreement basically provides that we'll provide the appropriate zoning. We'll allow them to connect to the sewer system, no charge, no connection charge, they're doing all the labor, they're doing all the expenditures. That's all, but our line is right there, there's no extension as I understand it. And they agree to install and operate the system in accordance with safety code, public safety codes and our ordinances. So there's not a lot of complication to it, but the public hearing for the annexation requires publication notice and notice to, whatever, I forget who the interested parties are on that. It's different than the annexation itself. Requires notice not more than 30 nor less than 15 days before the hearing. And we have, in the past, made the zoning board the public hearing instead of having a separate, city council have a public hearing before the meeting or something. Or you can do the city council above. We can email the draft agreement out to everybody, and theoretically, we could pick some dates on the calendar and publish for that, and then have the council approve it. It wasn't on the agenda tonight, so you can't take legal action on that, but staff could go ahead and pick dates that work on the calendar and the council meeting dates and get the process started if nobody has any serious objection.
The dates would be subject to approval at the next council meeting. But they'd be in the book, so we'd be ahead of the game, as it were.
I hope you could come up close to the way Bill Slavic used to run that park.
Do I understand you to say that you're operating your own water treatment facility?
No, sir. What we're operating is our individual tanks within the community that will pump our effluent into the city connection.
Yeah. They've been living with basically septic systems since when you talked about Bill Slavic had it. I mean, Bill had his own honey wagon and took care of all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was probably a class 5 when Bill had it. It was really high end.
Yes.
And since then,
A minute ago.
There's been some deterioration. I don't know why.
Absolutely. Right now, we're pumping our septic tanks 2 to 3 times a week, every week. And we have 43 of them.
I understand why you want to get away from that, have it more automated.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
been one of the, in the past, previous owners have never gone through with a project like this because for them to fix what they needed to, they would have needed to build a lift station or a pump station to pump over to us. So that's, the system that he's talking about actually eliminates that need. They'll have their own pumps in each of the systems that'll move the water to us or the effluent to us. And again, like you said, the solids, they'll still have to pump out every 10 years, I think.
Every 7 to 10 years, we'll have to pump each one of those tanks, but that's much better than pumping them 3 times a week, every week.
Well, we want to
I think
thank
it's
you
a
for
great
making
investment they're making in
us
the
aware.
community. The reason it hasn't happened, it took a big investment. These folks are willing to do that and make a better living situation
That's great.
for the residents.
Sounds more sanitary.
Yeah.
What kind of timeline on final annexation?
Well, we get to have the annexation hearing, and we do have a little bump in the road because for the annexation itself, the petition, the annexation says when they annex, the city will do this, this, and this. Then after the annexation agreement's approved, then they have to file a petition to annex. The petition to annex requires the owner to sign as well as, I forget, 50% of the.
51% of all the
electors.
electors.
So we have to literally look at the voter rolls and see how many electors there are in those 140 residents, or families in the community. And they're gonna have to go door to door and knock on and say, hey, this is gonna help you guys, and, get their signatures. So there may be a time lapse to get that, but they won't go through that whole process until they know you've approved the agreement to do what we're supposed to do. So there will be more of a lag. I would be shocked, we can get the agreement done by the first week in December probably. I'd be shocked if we can get the annexation done by the end of the year, I think, unless they want to circulate a petition for annexation pre this and turn it in after it's approved, that's possible. They could start that work and have, we could give a petition form, and the annexation petition could say it's contingent upon the council approving the annexation agreement, so
That's
depends
an
on how
option.
you want to manage that.
Yeah, that's a very good option. I like that option, actually.
That's why I'm
Yes.
here.
All right.
What's
Good
that?
idea.
That's why I'm here.
Well, he's making his money.
Agree. Again, we appreciate you being here and getting us updated.
Oh,
And as you
absolutely.
can see, we'll be more prepared for you at the next council meeting.
All righty.
Okay,
Very
thanks
good.
you again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? See, we have any guests here?
My name is Tom Hale. I'd like to address the generator at the rec center. So we know that all the natural disasters nowadays are not 1 or 2 day events. They're a week, 10 days. Say ice storm hits Pontiac, we're not going to have electricity for how long? How many people can be housed there? And you said that the generator will be able to run for 24 hours. Does the city have a way to get more diesel to that generator and run it for a week? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, and how
If
many
we,
people can
if
we
we
house?
need to, we'll have
How
the
many people
diesel.
can we house at the rec center if something like that happens?
But it's an emergency facility. It's not going to house 10,000 people.
Well, I realize that, but
Yeah.
No.
Typically, the Red Cross would provide cots. You know, it's a very big gym. I don't know the number. It's somewhere in our ops plan. It's online. We should have that information in our emergency preparedness plan. I don't know off the top of my head how many people
fantastic.
that will hold.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a contingency plan, so we're hoping we don't have to ever use it, so look at that. No more public comments? We do need a motion to move to executive session for personnel matters. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jason. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Hallis.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Cranford.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Thank you. Give us about 3 minutes and we'll go to executive session.
Shut it off.